Once upon a time, in a faraway land, there lived a gentle girl named Cinderella. She was kind to everyone, even to those who were unkind to her. After her father passed away, she lived with her stepmother and two stepsisters. They made her work all day, scrubbing floors, cooking meals, and carrying water. Though she wore rags, her heart was full of goodness. The little birds chirped around her, and the mice followed her happily. Even when she was tired, she smiled and sang to keep her hope alive. Her stepsisters, however, were proud and cruel. They wore fine dresses and mocked Cinderella for her simple clothes. Her stepmother always favored her own daughters. Cinderella was given the hardest chores and the smallest meals, but she never complained, for she believed kindness was her strength. One day, the king announced a royal ball. All maidens of the land were invited, so that the prince might choose his bride. The stepsisters shrieked with excitement and began planning new gowns. Cinderella also dreamed of going, just to see the wonders of the palace. Her stepmother laughed cruelly. "You, in rags? The prince would never look at you." The sisters piled work upon her so she could not prepare. Cinderella watched sadly as they left for the ball. Alone in the kitchen, she wept softly. Her tears fell into the ashes, and her heart felt heavy. Suddenly, a warm light filled the room. Before her stood a gentle fairy godmother. "Do not cry, child," said the fairy with a smile. "You shall go to the ball, for you are worthy of joy." With a wave of her wand, the pumpkin by the door turned into a golden carriage. The mice grew into proud white horses. Her rags shimmered into a gown of silver and blue. On her feet sparkled two glass slippers. Cinderella gasped with wonder and bowed her head in thanks. But the fairy warned her, "At midnight, the spell will break." With hope in her heart, Cinderella entered the grand palace. The hall was filled with music and laughter. When she stepped inside, all eyes turned toward her. The prince walked straight to her, enchanted by her grace. He asked for a dance, and together they moved across the floor. The stepsisters watched in jealousy, not knowing who she was. Hour after hour, the prince never left her side. Cinderella felt as if she were in a beautiful dream. But then the clock began to strike midnight. Ding! Ding! The sound echoed through the hall. Cinderella remembered the warning and ran quickly down the stairs. One glass slipper slipped from her foot, but she could not stop. She hurried into the night, and her gown turned back to rags. The carriage became a pumpkin once more. She reached her home breathless, clutching the one slipper she still wore. The prince was left with only the shining shoe. The next day, the prince declared he would marry the maiden whose foot fit the slipper. He traveled through the kingdom with his servants. The stepsisters pushed forward, eager to try. They squeezed and struggled, but the slipper would not fit. Finally, the prince asked for Cinderella. Her stepmother tried to hide her, but the servants insisted. Cinderella came forth, calm and kind as ever. She slipped her foot into the glass shoe, and it fit perfectly. The prince knew she was the one. He lifted her hand and smiled with joy. The stepsisters gasped in shock, and the stepmother turned pale. But Cinderella forgave them, for her heart was gentle. Soon after, Cinderella became the prince's bride. The palace rang with bells and laughter. She wore her glass slippers once more, shining in the light. And she lived happily ever after, for kindness had won.